Maura Murray, the internet's most enduring mystery, finally has a suspect. Maura Murray, 21-year-old mystery on the verge of being solved. Maura Murray, new suspect announced. The disappearance of Maura Murray is undoubtedly one of the most baffling cases in modern times. Some call it the first mystery to be immortalized in the age of social media, and it's easy to see why. Maura's sudden and inexplicable vanishing is a head-scratcher, and it seemed doomed to stay that way. That's until some recent information came out that could blow this decades-old mystery wide open. Let's take a look at the case, shall we? To understand why this case has fascinated the world for so long, we must start at the beginning. Maura had everything going for her. She graduated high school in the year 2000 in Hanson, Massachusetts. She was smart, had many friends, and her background as a star track athlete made applying for college a breeze. Initially, Maura began studying chemical engineering at the United States Military Academy in West Point, New York. After 3 uneventful semesters, Maura did something that was quite out of character for her. She stole $5 worth of makeup from a drugstore. She only received a slap on the wrist, but the experience soured the atmosphere for Maura. So she transferred over to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst to study nursing instead. Here, Maura thrived. In the 3 years on campus, she made the dean's list. Her performance on the track team was exceptional, and she was still going steady with her boyfriend that she'd started dating back when she left the military academy. Then, just 1 year shy of graduating as a qualified nurse, 21-year-old Maura again did something uncharacteristically reckless. She'd stolen a credit card and bought food from a few restaurants using this card. This made no sense at all. Maura had a job as a campus security officer, monitoring dorm entrances electronically, and her parents regularly helped her out with expenses. Maura was not struggling financially. This was a very bad look for her, considering her security job and her involvement with the UMass Police Cadet Program. Again, Maura was given a very light reprimand. 3 months of good behavior and all the charges would be dropped. Maura's probationary period was going well by all accounts until 4 days before her disappearance. Maura received a call from her sister while at her security job and promptly burst into tears. The sister, Kathleen, was a recovering alcoholic and she'd recently relapsed. Kathleen needed an ear, so she called Maura to talk about her recent relapse as well as the troubles in her marriage. Even though Maura's extreme distress over the phone call was rather unusual, nothing more was said on the matter. 2 days after her outburst and 2 days before her disappearance, Maura's father paid her a visit. The two headed out in his car to go shopping for a new car for Maura. Her vehicle was on its last legs, and it was about time to get an upgrade. After a day of car shopping, Maura dropped her father off at his hotel room and took his car to attend a party. On her way back in the morning hours, Maura crashed the car into a guardrail, completely totaling the car. There is an odd little detail here though. None of the people at the party recalled who Maura had been talking to that night, how much she'd been drinking, or any other details except the fact that she was in attendance. This has caused a lot of people to speculate that something illegal might have been going on at the party. But whatever condition Maura was in, it did not alarm any of the officers at the scene. Maura was simply dropped off at her father's hotel while the car was towed away, apparently without any sobriety tests or questions by the officers at the scene. Despite the $8,000 worth of damage, Maura's father wasn't upset at all. The insurance would cover the damages, and his daughter was unharmed. As far as he was concerned, Maura's safety was more important. The two parted ways on good terms, so emotional distress couldn't explain her strange behavior that night when she got back to her dorm room. That night, Maura's search history shows that she looked up routes from Amherst to Burlington, Vermont, a 7-hour drive from Amherst, as well as the White Mountains region of New Hampshire. She then called several hotels in Burlington trying to book a room for the next day. Since it was late Sunday night, none of the hotels could book her in at such short notice. Why Maura would want to go to either location was a mystery. She'd only ever visited Burlington once in her life for an unremarkable hiking trip. So why'd she want to go to Burlington specifically is up for debate. She then printed out the directions, text messaged her boyfriend telling him that she'd call him the next day, and emailed all of her professors informing them that there had been a death in the family and that she needed to go home for a few days. There was no death in Maura's family. She'd made that up. Maura then proceeded to pack up her entire room into boxes, leaving the boxes in the dorm with a note left on top of them addressed to her boyfriend. The contents of this note have never been disclosed. She then got into her very unreliable car and drove off, heading for New Hampshire on Monday, February 9th, 2004. At approximately 15:40 that afternoon, Maura was caught on camera withdrawing $280 from an ATM, practically emptying her account. She stopped at a liquor store, bought $40 worth of wine, and listened to her voicemails. Then, 5 hours after leaving her dorm, and 3 hours away from her suspected destination, Maura crashed her car into a snowbank on Route 112. 2 residents heard the crash, so Maura was just yards away from people. One homeowner witnessed her walking around her car, and the other called the sheriff's office. Next, a bus driver stopped and asked if he could help. He reported that Maura was uninjured, though understandably shaken up. She practically begged the man not to call the police, saying that she'd already called AAA. He even offered to let her wait inside his home just around the bend, but Maura declined, promising to stay warm inside her car until AAA arrived. The bus driver left, not knowing that Maura had lied. There was no record that she'd ever called AAA at all. Less than 10 minutes later, the deputy arrived, responding to the neighbor's call. In that short time, Maura had vanished. Upon searching the vehicle, the officer saw wine stains on the back seat. Apparently, one of the bottles had broken during the crash, and the printed out directions were laying on the passenger seat up front. Her wallet, phone, and car keys were missing from the car, and so were several of the liquor bottles. A witness reported seeing a young woman walking alongside the snowy road 5 miles away from the crash site, about half an hour after the officer had arrived at the scene. Maura was a track star, so it's certainly possible that she could have made it that far, even in bad weather, but she'd have to have been running most of the way to reach that distance. The car was quickly identified as the areas searched by air and foot. Sniffer dogs tracked Maura, confirming the witness statement that she'd been walking alongside the road. But they lost her scent, leading to the suspicion that she'd hitched a ride at some point. After 10 days, the search was called off. If Maura had gone into the wilderness, they'd have found her body by now. And so the case stood cold for 21 years, and everyone's got a different theory. A possible head injury during the 2 back-to-back car crashes that caused Maura to lose touch with reality? Had she wandered off into the woods, confused and disoriented? She'd packed up her life before leaving. Was she intentionally planning on disappearing? Or had Maura been picked up by a stranger and taken advantage of? Or maybe it's none of these at all, because there's been some recent developments in the case and it's only gotten weirder. A man by the name of Stephen Baldwin recently surfaced, and he has ties into a single fingerprint found in Maura's car that police never disclosed. Apparently, the two briefly dated back at the military academy. They were close enough that Stephen represented Maura during her disciplinary hearings. Just weeks after Maura left the academy, Baldwin withdrew from the school as well. Then it was revealed that Maura had hooked up with a man tentatively identified as Stephanos on the weekend before she disappeared, the same night that she crashed her father's car. At the time, police just assumed that this was a rumor gone wild among college kids, as is common with a disappearance of such a high profile as Maura's. Could this mysterious Stephanos actually be Stephen Baldwin? And was this why her friends were so vague about her actions that night? Because they didn't want to cause trouble between Maura and her boyfriend? And this isn't just clutching at straws either. Stephen Baldwin is a scary guy. He's currently serving a 15-year prison sentence for running an animal rehabilitation center scam. He'd take in aggressive dogs for a hefty fee, promising to rehabilitate and find new homes for them. Instead, Baldwin would euthanize the dogs almost immediately and pocket the fee. He was found guilty on 32 felony accounts, including deception, bribery, and falsified records, leading to the mistreatment and euthanasia of dogs entrusted to his care. Every single colleague and employer in his past has come forward claiming that he is a complete sociopath, violent towards his girlfriends, and that his erratic and obsessive behavior is nothing short of terrifying. Now, there was a lot of evidence that was never disclosed 21 years ago. Most of the interviews regarding Maura's movements during her last week, the majority of her phone records and emails, and where this single fingerprint was found, none of it was released. So if authorities are willing to come out and openly declare Stephen Baldwin as their #1 suspect, well, who's willing to bet that there's more than just a fingerprint and some campus gossip fueling this bold statement? Unfortunately, we'll have to be patient and wait for the rest to come out when the authorities deem it appropriate. They've been sitting on this for 21 years. Let's just hope that we won't have to wait another 2 decades before Maura's family can finally get the answers they've been praying for all this time.